Hello and Happy New Year. My name is Jeremy Haskell, and this is your Maine Jobs Report for January 2012, brought to you by jobsinme.com, how Maine gets to work. It's been a mild start to the new year, but now that 2011 is in the books, we can start to take a look back and see how the economy, and in particular the job market, fared over the last 12 months. From a numbers standpoint, Maine had a fairly even year. Starting the year January 2011 with an unemployment rate of 7.5%, we ended 2011 at 7%. And while there was a slight increase in unemployment over the first half of the year, since June, the economy has looked decidedly better. Looking at our first chart, we see that the number of companies actively posting open positions would seem to reflect the general steadiness of the Maine employment market. We saw between 600 and 700 active companies posting at any given time. That same trend followed for the number of open jobs. We both started and ended the year with postings around 5,500. As is typical for Maine's economy, there was a slow rise in opportunities through the first half of the year, a peak in the midsummer, and then a slight decline as we moved through the fourth quarter. That these numbers matched the seasonality that is typical of Maine's business cycle is something to be encouraged by. It starts to get interesting as we look at the top categories on jobsinme.com as determined by the number of jobs posted within a specific industry. This month, we'll review the top categories and how they fared quarter by quarter moving through 2011. Maine does have a diverse economic structure, but the top categories remain relatively consistent throughout the course of the year, with healthcare leading the way, followed by administrative, customer service, finance, sales and marketing, and manufacturing opportunities. In looking at our third chart, which shows the number of jobs posted in a bar graph by quarter, we see that there is another trend at work here. The first quarter is typically a slower time of hiring here in Maine, with a big boost as we move into Q2, or April, May, and June. And this trend continued this year. But what's interesting is that there was a steady decline quarter by quarter until the end of the year, when the Q4 numbers basically matched up with the Q1 numbers. So what could be at work here? Well, first, these numbers are reflective of Maine's seasonal economy, as I cited earlier. What will be interesting to look for in 2012 is what new industries or opportunities will emerge to replace losses in more traditional employment. It is encouraging to see that both sales and marketing and customer service positions remained high throughout the year, showing relatively little fluctuation. It'll be interesting to see, as we move towards a more service-based economy, how these categories will measure up when compared to science, technology, engineering, and math opportunities, better known as the STEM sectors. Another important part of the job market is to look at the types of opportunities that are being offered. In our fourth chart, we'll look at the three major types of paid employment: contractor per diem work, part-time jobs, and full-time opportunities. Of particular interest is the rate of change by quarter between not only per diem or contract opportunities, but also the trend of full-time postings on jobsinme.com. As you'll see, temporary positions increased during the first 3 quarters of the year, while full-time opportunities peaked in Q2 and showed declines in the third and fourth quarter. Simultaneously, part-time positions saw the typical steady levels. They were low in the first and the fourth quarters, but have a significant increase in the second and third quarters, which coincides with summer tourism. While we expect to see this type of activity as it relates to part-time jobs, the decline in full-time opportunities and increase in contract or per diem work is something we will watch closely moving through 2012. As for the level of activity on jobsinme.com, 2011 was a relatively steady year with only minor fluctuations from month to month. It should be noted, however, that these numbers are markedly higher than the activity levels in 2010. This is just another indication that things are moving quickly as we deal with this new world of work. With more activity from smaller companies, big changes in enterprise hiring trends, and more people looking to take control of their own employment destiny, we expect to see high levels of activity throughout 2012. And as always, we'd like to hear from you and what topics you'd like to discuss. Share your questions, challenges, and successes. You can find us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and obviously you have us here on YouTube. And that wraps up the Jobs Report for January 2012. I'm Jeremy Haskell. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, while you make a living by what you get, you make a life by what you give.